Hello, I'm Liana Lupas. I'm the curator of the scripture collection of American Bible Society, which means that the Bible Society is paying me a salary to do the work I love most in the world. I'm in charge of a collection of some 46,000 copies of the Bible in some 2,500 languages and dialects. Almost all of them are printed books. We have a few manuscripts, and I'm very happy to talk about my books and my manuscripts to you. This is the second printed edition of the English Bible. It was completed just 2 years after the Coverdale Bible. We can see the date here. We can see the date here, 1537. We can also see it in the colophon at the end of the book. And we can see on the title page the name of the translator, Thomas Matthew, here. The only problem is that there was no Thomas Matthew. The names, both Thomas and Matthews, are names of apostles. And on this title page, they substitute for the real name of the person who put together the Bible, and that person was John Rogers. John Rogers was a scholar and a pastor, and eventually a martyr of the Bible. He put together this Bible by taking the portion that Tyndale had already published, meaning the Pentateuch and the New Testament. He took the second part of the Old Testament and the Apocrypha from Coverdale's Bible, the books from Ezra to Malachi, and the apocryphal books, the Deuterocanon, the Apocrypha, in this Bible are borrowed from Coverdale's translation. And we have yet to understand who is responsible for the text of the historical books of the Old Testament from Joshua to 2nd Chronicles. This text is first printed here. And there are two possibilities. Either that John Rogers did himself the translation, or that Tyndale had done this portion also of the translation. Tyndale was working on translating the Bible into English when he was arrested and eventually condemned and burned at the stake. We know that the Inquisition searched his lodgings and confiscated everything that they found there. Admitting that Tyndale had already translated this portion, he must have left in his manuscript somewhere else. We will never know exactly what happened. But what is clear about this Bible is that, unlike Coverdale's Bible, which was based on the Latin and German translations, this is based on Tyndale's translation, which were based on the original Greek and Hebrew. If we look now at the title page, we can see that it's a sort of replica of the title page in the Coverdale Bible. It has something else. The last line of text here, printed in bold-face, large-size letters, says, "Set forth with the King's most gracious license." This Bible was licensed. The king is, of course, Henry VIII. There were problems with its printing because the Archbishop of Canterbury, Thomas Cranmer, and the trusted official that was Thomas Cromwell, Vice-Regent for Spirituals was his title. They somehow didn't trust British printers to be able to print such a long text and such a beautiful text. So they took the manuscript or whatever they had to France to have it printed in Paris by a printer named Renew. Now, France was a Catholic kingdom. Somehow word must have gone out that the printer Renew was printing a Bible in English. The fact is that the authorities raided his shop. They arrested Renew. The British publishers who were acting as correctors of the text fled. Most of the sheets had been already printed. And there followed a long dispute between Henry VIII and his ministers to get the printed sheets back to England and have them used. Apparently, yes, they got the sheets. And somehow they managed to put everything together, and the Bible was released under the license of the king. Apparently, King Henry VIII wanted each shire in his kingdom to buy and have a copy of this Bible. The print run was probably 1,500 copies. It's a tragic irony that Tyndale's text was printed and circulated in England in 1537, while Tyndale himself had been burnt at the stake in 1536 near Brussels. If we look again at the title page, we can see some of the motifs that were also depicted on Coverdale's Bible. If we look in the lower register, we can see the consequences of the images depicted before. Adam and Eve, their sin leads to death. The crucified Christ and his resurrection. Matthew's Bible is illustrated with woodcuts. Again, like in Coverdale's Bible, there are more woodcuts in the Old Testament than in the New. And there are a set of initials that somehow refer to the people responsible for this Bible. Edward, let me find this. The two printers that went to Paris and then completed the printing of this Bible was John Grafton and Edward Whitchurch. And they put their initials here. You can see J and G, E and W. And if we go to the end of the Old Testament, we see another set of ornamental initials. It's a W and a T. And this stands for Tyndale.